Every second of every day, the cells in your body burn energy to keep you alive. And as a byproduct of all that work, they constantly produce toxic metabolic waste. If that waste is allowed to accumulate in your bloodstream, your internal chemistry becomes acidic and lethal within a matter of days. Most of us never think about how the body handles this constant threat until the system hits a physical roadblock. A kidney stone is a solid mineral crystal and can form in the urinary tract. When it wedges itself into a narrow tube leading away from the kidney, it triggers the most excruciating, sudden pain a human can experience. These painful failures occur because the urinary tract operates as a sophisticated microscopic filtration plant, managing chemical complexity far beyond the capabilities of basic plumbing. Your survival relies entirely on the continuous, completely invisible operation of this system, working quietly behind your abdominal organs to sort the vital nutrients from the lethal toxins. The journey starts in the retroperitoneal space, located toward your back on either side of the spine, where your two kidneys sit. They are relatively small organs, but a massive volume of blood pumps continuously from your heart straight into the renal arteries for heavy processing. This diagram shows the kidney's internal structure. Notice the clear boundary between the pale outer cortex and darker inner medulla, which contains triangular shapes called renal pyramids. Unfiltered blood enters the cortex and is routed downward into these pyramids to begin filtration. This macroscopic anatomy provides the structural framework for millions of microscopic factories organized within the cortex and medulla. These core functional units are called nephrons. A single human kidney contains roughly 1 million of them. The very first stop inside a nephron is the renal corpuscle. It features a central knot of blood vessels called the glomerulus, which sits safely inside a spherical casing known as Bowman's capsule. Here, the blood hits a strict 3-layered security checkpoint. The first layer consists of fenestrated endothelial cells. These cells have tiny pores that physically block large structures, like red blood cells, from leaving the vessel, while letting liquid blood plasma easily slip through. The fluid then hits the second layer, the glomerular basement membrane. This is a specialized mesh that uses a negative charge to repel important proteins, keeping them in the bloodstream where they belong. Finally, the fluid squeezes through visceral epithelial cells, or podocytes. These cells use interlocking foot-like appendages and slit diaphragms to perform a final stage of filtration before the liquid drops into the capsule's empty space. The fluid that makes it through all 3 layers is called ultrafiltrate. It has been perfectly stripped of blood cells and large proteins, leaving behind a mixture of water, usable nutrients, and metabolic waste. This 3-layer microscopic barrier operates as a precise biological sieve, maintaining the integrity of the blood while extracting specific chemical impurities. From the capsule, that ultrafiltrate flows into a series of channels, including the loop of Henle. Here, the body urgently reabsorbs the essential water and nutrients it still needs, pulling them out of the fluid and back into the bloodstream. What remains is a highly concentrated waste fluid, urine. It travels out of the kidney, down tubes called the ureters, rests in the bladder, and exits through the urethra. Because these exit tubes are so narrow, they are highly vulnerable to solid debris. If those sharp, crystalline kidney stones develop, they easily lodge into the narrow ureters, blocking the flow of urine and causing severe swelling and pain. At the end of the line, the system faces another structural hazard. Urinary incontinence happens when the muscles of the bladder, or the sphincter controlling the release of urine, experience a mechanical failure, leading to an involuntary loss of control. The microscopic filtration mechanism is highly resilient, but the macroscopic plumbing connected to it is prone to physical blocks and leaks, turning a life-saving daily routine into a source of severe physical dysfunction. Managing this waste disposal is crucial, but the kidney is also doing something much broader, acting as the body's master fluid and chemical regulator. The kidney constantly monitors how much fluid is in your blood. If it detects a drop, it releases an enzyme called renin, kicking off a chemical chain reaction known as the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAS. This chemical cascade travels through the body and forces blood vessels to constrict, while simultaneously signaling the kidneys to hold on to salt and water. By managing local fluid levels, the kidney directly dictates your systemic blood pressure. This delicate balancing act is why chronic kidney disease is so dangerous. It is the gradual, progressive loss of both the microscopic filtration barrier and this crucial regulatory ability over time. As the foundation of cardiovascular stability and chemical survival, the urinary system constantly calibrates the internal environment, allowing the rest of the body to thrive.